wondering what was involved with participating.
Participating in Open for Dancing. It's 5 days, and what we hope is that a participant will want to do everything. So you come on Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock is the first master class with one of the choreographers. We have 3 choreographers, so each morning there'll be a new master class. Then during the day you get to have lunch with either the visual artists or the choreographers.
Lunch
or
sounds good.
Yeah, like a brown bag lunch that anybody can come to, so you don't starve to death. Then at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you go to the site that you're assigned to and you rehearse your piece with your choreographer.
Right, so
And
you
then-
don't get to choose, because I was interested in doing the one with the fabric.
I think we could probably negotiate with people.
Oh,
What I've told the choreographers is, you have to tell me over the summer what kind of numbers of people you want,
right.
and then I'll assign the people.
Oh, I
So definitely we can pick and choose.
Right.
But every afternoon you go to the same place because you're rehearsing to be in a piece, and then on Saturday and Sunday you're in the piece. You'll perform it 3 times Saturday, 3 times Sunday, and then everybody
Just like a real dancer.
just like a real dancer. And then everybody gets on a trolley and goes to Fort Adams and sees the Island Moving Company perform, and has a picnic and a party, and so
Sounds
it
good.
should be 5 days that's really just full of dancing and hearing about dancing, watching films about dancing, you know, because we have evening things every night, so it'll be really
Count
fun.
me in.
Try and get your 14-year-old out of
Okay, see on. I expect we might have to do something special with that. We don't need a loose string there. You really need a lot of power. Oh.
It's never easy to do what's true. You're always busy, so much to do. I can't keep up with the likes of you. Some garbage at my front door. You scrape your boots off all across my floor. You cast a shadow from shore to shore. Some sunny day you'll have to pay. You travel light now, no flies on breeze. You left your honor hanging on a tree. You buried holy integrity. Some sunny day you'll have to pay.
here or at Ballard Park?
See, the best way.
I'll go check and see. Can you hold on a second? Just a second.
Hold on. I don't want to give you the shortest way. I know all the back roads. I don't want to give you that.
So what should I tell Colleen? Why don't you tell Colleen to meet at Ballard Park? Me and Lori at 4.
I think we can find party dresses probably, but I'm worried about the men.
So, okay. So we might have one
Right.
from here. Okay. Okay.
Although maybe they're although none of them have batteries though, so.
It's a good one too. Look at that. Great detail. You want to be on the film crew for the dance festival? Why not?
It doesn't really take pictures.
One thought on the over at Doris Duke's, we're going to have to get a porta-john over there.
I'll be
Setting
on
up
your
the
right
Porta-John
as
delivery
well.
at Ballard Park,
If you
which
pass
is
the gate, you'll see
really
all the buses
fun.
and everything. If
We're
you
having
pass the
trouble,
gateway,
technical
then
difficulties.
take a right at the left.
No, who pays for the porta-john?
Oh, we pay. We'll pay. Okay. Unless you want to pay.
Do you want to?
But my problem here is the woman who can arrange that does not have a cell phone and is going to be at Ballard Park at 10.
To the Gateway Center.
So if you could call me very soon, it's now 9:43, or as soon as possible, she's going to be checking back in with me. She's also going to be calling you to see what that time would be for the delivery, and she can meet you there
You should be back
and
at the Gateway
show you where to position the porta-john. So please call as soon as possible. Thanks, bye. Okay.
This is who we are, this is where we are, this is what's going on, and these are our sponsors, and this is our,
Yeah.
the other venues that you should hit today, and you know what I mean? Right.
Bring lunch. That's a long day. There's no place to grab a sandwich out
But you know, we're having boxed lunches, so we'll make sure you guys get them. Don't worry.
I've heard that.
So, primaries.
Because I know in general, you know, people are generally pretty polite. Every once in a while, you got that might just trample something, you know, and you don't want to do that at any of the functions.
So I'm trying to think about things like, could 60 audience members fit in there, and where would I put them? What would be the pathway?
Depending on the wind conditions, it could carry the sound easily, but I don't think they're concerned about that.
How about parking? Another 10 minutes.
Parking, we're trying to figure out.
What I'd like to get from you guys at the end of today is what you want from each site. Well, this site seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, you know what?
Okay.
Is there a restroom I could use?
There certainly is.
Sorry, while we're close by.
Right to the right.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get that on film.
And the other only 12 miles away, but it takes just as long to get there anyway. So you drive across the mountain to do it.
I'm good in the privacy of my own home. With the kids.
JFK Street.
And then you just
may as
come
well
into
just
the
give up.
clearing.
I mean, there's like light after.
When I heard about the project for the banners and the Island Moving Company with the Open for Dance, doing site-specific dance pieces and landscapes, and the request for banners, I immediately was drawn to the idea of the landscape because those estates I keep going to and peering into, and they're always so still and so the only people that are there are looking at them, and so the fact that there would be dancers and moving around through them, I thought that would be an interesting idea to try to capture on a banner. I did some landscapes recently, and the colors, the greens, the blues, I thought would work well on that shopping plaza pole, those poles in the shopping plaza. So my idea is basically to go in with my camera, take some good photographs that capture an angle of actually being on site, and then try to create in some areas of the banner the potential for movement. Maybe it's a blur, maybe it's just a different tension or a shadow that would capture an element of a figure, or just some sort of movement or energy that's occurring within the still landscape. People look at them and they just, oh, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. It's connecting. Oh, I love that spot, you know, because these are just taken from my car window as I drive by. And the snapshot, it's the same location other people have seen it in as well. It's just like, you know, I've driven by that, I've seen that.
I was very entertained by your telling John, where standing in slickers knee-deep in the mud, you're right next to me.
A little bit out of your way. Yeah, much.
And I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're going to feel it from what I'm
I also feel as though it's coming from the top of your head as opposed to growing from the base of your spine. Right? So there's this feeling that it's actually, I'm going with my heel, some of you are going with my heel, and you're throwing the top of your head. And it has this weight, right? Which is pretty cool actually. It has this very big action. Right? And I'm trying to think of it sequentially growing from my spine. So here goes, I'm going to throw my heavy heel, it's going to plant my sit bones, and then it's going to grow up my spine from the base until it gets to the top. And lolls over the top. How that works. So she said, take a big lunge, paste your torso onto your thigh, reach way out, catch your hands, push from your
Here we go first. 6, 7, and last. Perfect. 1, 2. Now, yay. Push some. See her now. See it. 5, 6. Send it. 7, 8. High, low. Now take your time. 10 to your hand. Everything has enough time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And curve, curve again. Step, curve, finish.
Out, out, out. Your case off, out. Just pouring out the head, down, out. Right fire from the belly, out.
Back it up, baby, I don't need all the criticism. You stick the needle in and twist it with precision. How come you're the one who knows what I'm missing? Back it up, I can't hear if you don't listen. You keep saying you're a friend of mine. Back it up and get on back in line. Back it up, baby, I'm not your willing villain. You can't make a living making a killing. I'm sorry that I had to prick your bubble. I'm sick and tired of hearing everything doubled up. You keep saying you're a friend of mine. Back it up and get on back in line. Well, maybe you forgot what paying your dues is. You got more lines than a man got fuses. Oh, go ahead, keep on talking. Don't mind me if I keep on walking. Back it up. 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 Well, you sound real tough with your huffing and puffing. You can't stand to see a man get away with nothing. You believe all that crap if it helps, and I'll go back to believing in myself. If you mean what you're saying, say it. Back it up. If you're not just playing, play it. Back it up. I'm a man, not a hobby, baby. Back it up. Or take a seat in the lobby, Bobby. You want a taste of the big, big time. Back it up and get on back in line. Back it up. Back it up.
That's good. Yeah.
Second group, you're dressed just perfectly.
You can experiment with these elements.
All kinds of platforms up here. So I was trying to think how to play with these two environments. So what I've ended up designing is or planning as an overall structure to at least start out with, is kind of an anthropological parody of two different tribes, one that inhabits these beech trees, and then a very different kind of people who inhabit the geometric formal garden.
Okay, so she might move the audience between this space and the far side of this stretch, because of like a sunken parterre garden, and beyond that lawn. If she works with that area, she'll seat people on that far lawn. But she might also get them up and move them and bring them over here and do a piece in this space.
Melt over the wall and infiltrate this other group. So I need to be able to get the dancers up onto the new grass so they can melt over the wall. So we'll have to talk to the groundskeepers about whether that would be acceptable. If you could come stand on the stair, I'd just like to see how well I can see you if I'm on the other side where the audience would be.
Sure.
Can you stay on the stair?
Sort of in the middle here, or?
Sure. And there's going to be a guide, this is Tom Wilson, I'm meeting at 3, who's going to come and we'll have a patter. He'll be the audience's guide to what these tribes are all about. And he'll also be the person, I hope, who will help the audience know where to go to get from here to there and when it's over and how to leave and all the kind of logistics.
Olivia's going to build 2 obelisks, and all the dancers are going to emerge from the obelisks.
Those are 2 big obelisks.
They're huge, right?
We've talked a lot about how many obelisks and where they should be and how to integrate them. And one thought was that each of these tribes would have one. So that we're thinking of placing one inside here. And then there could be some sort of, we have to decide how we're going to use it exactly. We've talked about making it possible for the dancers to go in and out of it. So it can be interactive in that way. It might have holes in it, their arms could come out of, and their feet could come out of, and it would be some part of their sort of ritual ceremonies. And it would have a certain organic feel. We talked a lot about what kind of skin it could have, so this is going to be a more organic, earth tone, burlap skin. And then the other obelisk we've talked about putting down in the formal gardens and having a much more high-tech, smooth, sleek look. So I think it's being wrapped in foil.
I have about 3 different spaces I work in because of, let me get the keys. I have a little room upstairs I work in, I work out of the garage, I work outside when the weather's good. That's my favorite spot, is outside. Here we go. Yeah, if I can work outside, I much prefer to. I've got that picnic table out there, and it's much more inspiring, and not to mention the fact that sometimes I'm dealing with certain kind of materials that smell, or I do a lot of burning, so it's better to be outside. I tend to look at the outside world as kind of my church. That's where that's when I find that I get my best ideas, and then where I find kind of, a certain degree of peace. So, and this, even though I'm in the city, I kind of feel like this backyard sort of transports me a bit. So.
Just the sound of the water.
Yeah, it's really nice at night. The opulence and the use of money and the sort of need to display your opulence through the form of something like these beach chateaus and these formal gardens and the lavishness of their entire lifestyle of parties, and for a house that was used maybe a month at the most at a time, it seemed to me it disturbs me as somebody who thinks that's an incredible waste of resources. On the other hand, I can appreciate the craftsmanship. that's gone into a house like that and have gone into the gardens, you know, the actual artisans that are involved in carving the stones and, you know, carving the wood and painting the ceilings or designing the gardens. I can appreciate that component of it. So there's a dichotomy there too. And of course now it's there for the public to appreciate and enjoy. And there, you know, that's a whole other life that's kind of been breathed into it. I don't know if people, you know, when these were built, ever conceived that they would be something that would be open to the public eventually. You know, what would happen to them down the road.
So are you making a sort of commentary by putting the obelisks in the recently restored Elms Gardens that we're about to have a visitation by a fall of civilization as a result of restoring the gardens?
What struck me as kind of intriguing was the dichotomy between the sort of formal, very controlled landscaping of the garden that's been restored, and then the close proximity to that, to this beautiful stand of beech trees that are, I don't know how old, but they must be 100+ old. They're huge and they're just incredible, and they create this big canopy that you can walk into, and it's very primal, and it's got this just real earthy sort of primitive feeling. And you know, the sort of playing those two environments off of one another was something that I thought was really interesting. And when I spoke to her, that was something that she was struck by as well. So that was a really nice kind of link that we both had. The materials that I think we're going to be using will be burlap for one, and I'm probably going to do some mutilation of the burlap, form of burning, and I'd like to do some sort of playing around with the surface to suggest something that is very primitive, something that is kind of organic, that might have grown up out of the earth. And then the other one, I'm using a material, I'll probably use aluminum foil, I'm not sure. Either that or the saran wrap, but something that's very industrial, kind of very sort of high-tech, and that has a sort of purity to it, visual purity to it, but also somewhat devoid of you know, emotion, suggesting kind of technology in a contemporary world. The pieces that I'm going to be doing with Amy.
Is this one here?
Yes, that's one of the forms.
And these are going to have dancers inside them, right?
Well, we're contemplating that, yes. I like to use a lot of thorns. I'm interested in the idea of kind of...
So are you going to have thorns and unsafe things in your obelisks with the dancers too?
You see, since we're dealing with people and the proximity of people, no.
I'm going to be relying a lot on the dancers to come up with material that they can do and want to do.
They're essentially, they'll be skins. So the skin wraps around the form. Now, if I'm going to have people in there, I'm going to have to come up with some way. We're going to have to figure out how they're going to emerge from this, and whether, you know, whether I'll have to have some kind of system to allow them to kind of enter, and also to reclose it, because it's going to happen 3 times, so they can't really kind of, you know, push. Like, if it was just one performance, they could rip it open. But the fact that it's repeating 3 times, you know, that puts a different slant on it, because I have to then, like, you know, reform it and sort of stuff it with people, you know, and start over again.
The same day.
Right.
I know, like the stuff they've done on the beach, I've seen it, some of that stuff has stayed there for like months and not moved. So it's kind of amazing. It's like right on the beach. So.
Some of it moves a lot.
She had a piece on the beach. The obelisk.
The sculpture show on the beach, which is what I did last year, and well, that to me was something that was really nice and exciting about it. It was on a public beach, and it was up for a period of time that people could sort of visit it numerous times, or at least they had a large enough window they could get down there if they didn't live nearby. They could see it at different times of day. It was completely, it had no limitations as far as time frames, as far as money. You know, it was really accessible in the pure sense of the word. I mean, other than having to obviously go to that particular site. It didn't come to you. But in every other respect, they removed pretty much every other barrier.
And some people just stumbled upon it.
Right,
And went to the beach, and
yeah,
all of a sudden there
they
it was,
were,
you know.
Which was really nice. This is sort of just the basic shell of what was there. I had completely filled it with plastic bottles that I'd collected over a period of number of months. I was interested to see how weather and the elements would work on these. And my thought being that plastic's a fairly indestructible kind of medium to work with. And actually, it was fairly indestructible. Well, I think it'll be interesting to see how much they change from what people have been saying prior to that, because when it really boils down to it, it's probably impossible to stick with your concept 100% when you get in the situation. Because things always, evolve and change. I mean, even if you're not working with other people, I find that when I have an idea, by the time I finish the piece, it's completely transformed itself from what I originally thought it was going to be. And if you don't let yourself be open to that, if you're too rigid in having to stick with what you wanted to do, you can find that you really limit yourself.
That's the great thing about South Pacific. You never know what's going to change at the last minute. That's a lot of the fun of it, though.
Having done this before, what ends up happening is you start off with very large pieces because everyone gets really ambitious, and then eventually they shrink. But we could end up with little huts floating.
Well, I've done a few things outside. It's better to reduce the parameters, like to reduce what's required, because as soon as you start like pumping it up, then it'll, something will happen. I've been there. It's like, oh, the remote isn't working for all 40 slide projectors. It's going to be really tricky out here.
And I nod, you push the button.
Right, exactly. But meanwhile, you've cornered the people you know. You're at this slide projector, you're at this slide projector. Look for her, she goes like that. That's the moment. Push that button. I've done it. It's really, it's like I don't want to do it again. It was fun, but it's over now. I've learned a few lessons.
How many dancers are you thinking about?
How many dancers am I thinking about?
You were thinking about 30.
However many there are, I'm taking.
Yeah, everybody's,
But it's hard to know.
Big numbers is great. Oh, it's very hard to know.
Very hard to know. We might have 6.
Although we sold our 3rd button today.
Oh, congratulations.
So there's at least one at each spot.
Right.
They're solos. I'm thinking of working with somebody who is like a choral director, schlepping them down here and having him, and he works with people who aren't singers, and have them produce whatever. I think it'd be fun.
Wow.
Might be insane, but I think it'd be fun, and I think it's a good site.
We didn't have to have sound equipment here. We might even have a budget for the choral director.
Okay, it's getting better.
That's getting better.
It's getting better. Help. Shape note music. It's tough to describe. It's rustic, rural, choral singing from the 19th century. It's sort of, if you imagined what a congregation might sing in like a small church in northern Alabama in 1860 or something. This would be the sound. This sort of rough-hewn, four-part harmony, but not polished chords. They're just kind of it's a little heavy. Yeah, really. That is heavy. We could have given you a ride.
That's okay. I didn't know
I'm not going to give you a ride.
You get to
no, but I'm going to get it
free. You have better seating.
I love that.
So everything I needed is dandy.
I'm happy to start lunch to her.
He's trying to figure out a problem.
No, I'm sure. So I've done something which I rarely do, actually, in my work, which is I've really made a narrative. It's got a narrative, and then I decided I've got a guide. I've got a guy.
You got the guy.
I've got a guy. I do. I have this fabulous guy, Tom Wilson. Yeah. So I've made up a whole story. So I don't know. There's part of me that's just thinks it's a hoot. And there's part of me that's kind of terrified that it could just go
Terribly wrong.
All right? That the idea is totally flawed. So then I thought, okay,
Dominique will like you.
I'm going to go home.
That's one of the things we like about Dominique. She'll like us anyway.
She's forgiving.
No, it's even if
That's what it's all about.
we can say anything. Myrna, anything wonderful you want to say about yourself at this time? Just jump in.
So you've got your wabi-sabi and your feng shui. And I always go for the wabi-sabi. That feng shui thing is not my luck. It sounds really good, but it just isn't.
Well, feng shui can also be where you place those down.
Yes, it can be, but then it's not wabi-sabi because then it's intentional. It's
Wabi-sabi sounds Japanese.
yeah, I think it is. I read this in an article and I just picked myself for not saving it. She looks at me.
I've got that range of ages.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you.
At the end, which we haven't done yet, we'll do this today, they take them
everyone's
off,
in
and
the same spot.
there's a way that you can throw them at the frisbee,
Yeah.
and they fly out, and they parachute down.
Oh.
If it's really windy and the wind catches them wrong way, it might not work, but
Even the attempt will be nice.
Wait, explain this again. Wait, there's a frisbee inside?
Yeah.
Right. Not hula hoops.
We're all coming over with our hula hoops to visit Myrna tonight. No.
Is it like a lantern?
The whole hoop collapses down.
yeah.
Because
It's
they're
a piece
small.
of fabric.
Oh, yeah.
Hoop,
I see.
hoop, right? It all collapses, you hold it, and then it opens up.
Who made this first?
We were collaborating with Genevieve, who's a fabric artist, and so she's created all these incredible pieces. So there's a section with large shawls that women manipulate into all different things, and there's queen bed size, sheet size fabric that comes in on big bamboo poles. They're running flags, and then they lay them down, they get the beds. And then I'm doing something from the bridge, with stroking my hair over the bridge, and then I have a train of fabric behind me, and more and more fabric comes over, so the hair keeps transforming. Which was actually my first impulse seeing that place because of sails, the idea of fabric and blowing, and I knew there'd be wind. And Genevieve really came up with the color scheme. She felt that she had this idea of saffron, yellows, and reds, and oranges would stand out against the green and the blue. And the costumes are neutral, white and black, so there's this color, this flashes color. She was very terrific. She came out to our place a few times, and we brainstormed and played around.
Had you worked with her before?
No, we've never met her. Just Dominique gave us her name. And it was a very successful collaboration. So
I can't wait.
Oh, you want this one set on Wednesday too?
Well,
at rough point? Are they going to be
I
rehearsing?
think they want them all on Wednesday because the dancers are starting to choreograph that day.
Okay.
I mean, starting to work with the dancers.
All right. The thing that we can do, instead of having the whole sound system, okay?
Yeah,
For the rehearsals, we can just have a boombox.
Fine.
Yeah. So for any voice, when you're descending a lot, like a big interval going down, everyone wants to go flat. Like wants to go la la, but la la. Yes, think of supporting that. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Can we start at the top of it?
Yes.
And can we just give her? She's gonna just try see what this feels like.
Sure.
Just to be sure. My beginning point is always there.
Right. So they're gonna make some mistakes. They're gonna make some mistakes. It's fine. This is called rehearsal.
So here's
okay. Is this okay, or do you want to be on the green grass? No, she's gonna move. We're having her move.
Okay.
For me.
Okay.
We're making her move.
Okay.
Because we have a little idea about this. I'm just hearing this minor key. Seems great.
Yeah.
Is that okay, or is it too slanty?
It's fine.
Just take a step back.
So
Okay.
so let's start.
You'll
that
wait
again.
for them. As soon as
Start
you
that
hear
again.
them, when you're ready, you'll start.
On the same part?
No. Solo join, and I'll join on the one. 3, 4. The only thing that's not quite working is
That thing, yeah.
what is it? I
think we forgot what we were doing all of a sudden, like we were growing.
Oh, okay.
It was just kind of a lapse.
Okay, and then the other thing I was going to say is, if there is that goofy moment, I think, just don't lose it.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually thought it was fine that you smiled at each other. It's like that's perfectly fine. That's what made me think then that it seemed a little solemn, because suddenly you smiled. I feel like you could play around with that a little bit more. Just if it's very good though. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to do something for a few minutes, just for the two of them. So.
That sounds like a lot.
That sounds like a lot of material. No.
No, you need like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They wouldn't have like solid roof or anything.
Yeah.
It's just
Just like an outline.
It's just a form. Yeah. And they're one person wide, so you could literally pick them up and stand inside them.
And how are they?
They're just freestanding.
I know, but are they constructed nails, twine,
Rope.
sticks, rope?
Rope and tree branches.
So it won't shift or.
Shouldn't shift if we build them right.
But I can't stay for the afterwards, really. It's just, I don't know, I get up at 6 every morning. I'm not a late nighter. I gotta eat before 9. So these are...
So, are there things that you need to try the play before we do anything? What do you want to try?
This was a piece that was commissioned for our 20th anniversary season. It's by Rick McCullough, and it will be premiered here in Newport at Fort Adams in September during the Open for Dancing Festival.
I worked with him like 10, 12 years ago in California, so I knew him before this. And he's a very relaxed, calm individual who has a lot of respect for people that he works with, and also has a really fine, I think, understanding of movement and balletic technique. And I've always enjoyed the kind of work that he does because it's very organic, a lot of weight sharing, and it's much more, I don't know, intimate's not quite the right word, and sensual's not quite the right word, but it's a much more personal way of working, I think, than a lot of people work.
No, I mean, I agree with what David said. It's very organic. I guess that's the word. It feels good to do, which is nice. And about his work, it was nice. He really puts it in your hands while he's making it. He's saying, "Oh, I like that. But if something doesn't work, he's not. he's not you can say that to him, which is nice to be able to say, this isn't working and that's not a problem, and he'll find something else. And he definitely has a wealth of ideas and that seem to sort of flow out, which is neat to watch.
Well, Danny was the first choreographer that walked into the company. I think it was about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, for the first time. And the first Danny, what Cusker ever said to the Island Moving Company was, make a gesture that introduces yourself. And we had never worked like that before, and there were lots of really awkward-looking silences around the room, however an awkward silence can look. And so we awkwardly and self-consciously did this thing, and he said, now make it smaller. And at the end of that day, we all sort of embraced this process. You know,
It was, you know, being in the piece and what it was like to be in that piece.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like for you? Did you ever done anything like this before?
No. I have never done anything like this before. I'm a finance director, and this was totally out of my scope. I try to find new and different things, and I was very surprised. I was in a meeting with Lisa Palmer, who had asked, you know, if anyone would be interested in doing this open dancing for the group. And after the meeting, I said, yes, I would be interested. She said, well, it's tomorrow. She said, can you start tomorrow? Well, of course, you know, I looked at my schedule and I thought, I'll never have an opportunity like this again, so I'm going to take it right now. And she said, by the way, I'll pick you up. So there was no chance that I could forget about it. But I had no intention of forgetting about it because I had made a commitment.
No one would ever want to see me move in front of a public audience ever.
I guess when you asked me about, you know, to do this little videotape of how I felt, just a whole slew of different feelings came up. So I went from, first of all, so much fun, just like simple fun. There were moments of complete bliss. Just, I can't believe I'm allowed to have so much fun.
Yeah, so it was interesting to watch all of you guys work because you became really like a company.
Yeah.
You know, you never knew each other before it started. And then all of a sudden by the end you were like so plugged in.
Yeah, it was only 3 days, so it just kind of came together at the last minute.
This is my first year as an actual dancer. I had done musicals and such before, but this was a new experience for me. And so we did the show in Newport. It was just different in that they just kind of told us to do stuff. And I kind of liked it though, because yeah, it was just liberating and stuff.
Have you ever done anything like site-specific dance before or anything like this?
Nothing, ever. Absolutely nothing.
I was with the Ballard Park performance, and that Ballard Park was a quarry. And I felt that in terms of more than historic Newport, we had a sense of the place itself, particularly for a singer, in my case. Our voices resounded, reverberated, thrilled across the walls of the quarry. And that was really the place singing. And I felt more comfortable singing, particularly learning this. I gained much more by this than I ever would have by attempting to have danced a piece within which I really wouldn't have had a place. So it was better, it was a transition for me, yes, but it was a transition and a revival of my interest and love for music. I've been in several musical comedies, and this was a great opportunity to sing with dance. And I've never really seen a piece happen where extemporaneous voice was incorporated into the occasion.
I had been involved in dance when I was young, and this was the event that I wanted to introduce my daughter to dance with. And so it was the very first time that she had ever seen any kind of free-form dance out in the environment, which I And I was very curious to see her reaction because, you know, it's sort of, do you want to send them to dance lessons and do whatever, or do you want them to experience something that's so very, very special? And she got to help with the costumes and run them around during the performance to the other side of Rough Point. That was fun then. So that was a big deal for us.
It's really nice to watch making the movie was to see how the groups went through this sort of bonding process over the period of a couple of days. And you know, at first at Rough Point they were all sort of doing their own thing and everybody was very confused and wasn't quite sure how they were going to all fit into this picture. They'd never worked together before, they didn't even know each other before. And then as time went by, over the rehearsal process, it became like we happy few, we band of brothers. You know, they became an ensemble, they became a company, they became a family, and they started to grow together as a unit, so that by the time they got to the final performance, they were really working together as one organic mass.
Art and Myrna are so creative, and they worked beautifully with all of us. I mean, they took Rough Point, which is rocks and a piece of lawn, and developed a dance scene to complement the environment. We arose behind the rocks doing creative positions and everything. I could not believe how beautiful everyone looked. And then they had colorful capes and colorful flags that added color, because basically you had the green with the rocks and then the sky, which was beautiful, and then you had the other colors that were coming forward in the forefront.
The choreographers themselves were just, you could tell, just really accomplished and artistic, but they maintained a really nice level of making you feel good about what you're doing. They weren't so demanding that you just started thinking, oh, I don't like this anymore. Really meeting the people who I would never have met in a normal walk of life, working with your sister, it was so fun, and it's getting to know those personalities who you would never have really probably have had a chance to become fairly intimately involved with, because you're hiding behind a bush for 10 to 15 minutes at a stretch, and all you can do is really chat and get to know each other and laugh, and that was fun. Getting to know the people who I wouldn't have normally gotten to know, and collaborating and having fun with it.
I think the two things that excite me the most about site-specific performance are, first of all, visually, it's so interesting. There's so many different elements suddenly thrown into the movie that you don't have in a theater, where you're in a box, proscenium setting, lights, you know, very predictable. And the other thing is that doing the piece, which includes shooting the piece, you have all these elements working with you. Wind and sun, and then the fog comes in, and everything that happens changes it. And suddenly the performer becomes one with the world that they're working in, not just the piece itself. There's so many other things you have to take into consideration as you're performing. How does this look to the audience now that I'm in the fog? How does this look to the audience now that the sun is really hot, or the sun is really low, or the wind came up? There are a lot of other ingredients that go into the ambiance of the piece than just what you intended when you sat down indoors somewhere and made a list of all the ingredients that you wanted to have in your choreography. The other thing that was nice to see was how the choreographers and the performers all became programmed into a common speed, that they worked together in a way that started to take on its own momentum, so that the choreography adapted itself to the level of the performers adapted themselves to the level of the choreography. They started working at a certain pace, and by the time they got to performance day, it was a machine. It was just working. They'd come, they'd get ready, they'd go out there, they'd do their performance, and in 3 days, they created a company, an ensemble.
frustrating at some points, frustrating in that, I wanted it to be perfect and we didn't have a lot of time to perfect things, and I didn't get the feel of the music until that last day. Then I started to feel the music and understand. And that's when I started to lose myself in the dance. And going there, is talk about, ecstasy, really. Because when all of a sudden the music becomes a part of you, and you get to enjoy every movement. You don't have to think about, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this now, or I have to do this now. You're almost on this, all of a sudden the music is speaking to you and telling you where to go, and it's just so, I don't know how to explain that.
That it wasn't really dancing, it was more modern dancing, not like classical ballet.
Oh, you like classical ballet?
Yeah, I've been taking it for 9 years, so it was kind of strange going and having it all loose and easy going. We could go barefoot if we wanted to. We didn't have to wear a certain type of shoes, and our hair didn't have to be up or anything, so that was different.
The favorite thing was the picnic party, and it was really quite funny the way they had developed that and how it led into it.
The frolic dance, that was my favorite one, and I kind of liked the dinner scene.
I love the dinner scene. I just thought that was the best. I've got half an hour of footage of the dinner scene. What did you like about the dinner scene that you thought was fun?
The whole thing with the wine glasses and the bread, and how that everyone actually got to eat the bread, that it was real and stuff, and rolling down the hill.
never seen anything like it. And the weather changed, and the fog came in, and the dance that was done in the sunlight was totally opposite and very contrary to the fog dance. So that was something that really left an image for us. To the point where the scene on the bridge fogged almost completely in a mist like it was a dream. Wow. And that was the finale of the entire 5 days.
And with those colors that she had, I mean, I saw her rehearsing with that scarf with those beautiful jewel tones, those sunset colors in the gray. It must have been extraordinary, even more so than in the light.
It was a different dance, and the dancers changed.
And that last piece when we're all waving out to the ocean, when you all of a sudden start feeling what a potential spectator was feeling, you know, especially someone who may have lost someone at sea, or I don't know, then you just get caught up in the emotion of the music.
On their average hike day, and they stumbled upon this dance. And before you knew it, they were in the middle of the dance, out on the bridge, not realizing it. They got so drawn in that they were right in the middle of it. And so it was very, very interesting to watch how the dance came in and the public receded. At the Elms, people were walking around the grounds, and when they saw the dance in the flowers, the second part, they realized that they stumbled across some wonderful piece of culture, and just very quietly came up and were so happy that nobody asked them for any money, and they just experienced this and thought it was supposed to, this happens all the time here, you know, and left, and nobody told them otherwise. And I thought that was wonderful. And then as the dancers let you parade through them at the end, so you left the site. There's a scruffy sort of Berkeley professor of archaeology, and he said, this is the last time you'll ever see this breed, and they will be extinct or something after today. This is the last public viewing. So you know, and you know, as this whole society was just going to go away.
And all of a sudden they all go,
they realized.
Oh, this
At first
is
I
totally...
thought I was in the wrong group.
A lot of people
I
thought
did.
that, especially Don Glassy, who leaned over to me and said, I'm here to see my daughter dance. Where do I go? I said, stay right where you are. So there's Dad standing right there, and I'm in this tree.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. I think when people are like, I play the piano and I sing, and it was a lot like singing a solo in front of somebody that I know. And I don't like to sing in front of people. When there's a choir around me, I'm in the choir. When there's a choir, I'm fine. But when it's me and people, I get very nervous. But I don't know, it didn't really bother me having people on you watching me. Just, I don't know, because, I don't know, it just, there were people around me to distract the attention away from me. Well, we were supposed to be sleeping in the beginning, so we weren't supposed to notice the people there anyway. So we had our eyes closed, and then the music started and we had to move. But it didn't really seem very strange to me. And then, I mean, I don't know. It didn't really matter what they were saying because I knew that he was talking about our characters and not actually us. So it didn't really matter to me. But
So you didn't take it personally?
I don't know. I didn't take it personally. It was just sort of like he was narrating and we were acting. I don't know. It sort of felt like we were acting more than dancing.
Because really this is an anomaly for me, these larger pieces. I primarily work small, so it's been challenging to work on that scale, but and also to sort of move in a kind of different direction with the work. I mean, I see it kind of parallel and a natural evolution of what I'm doing, but also kind of a leap, parallel leap as well.
When the girl fell, I remember she told us something to the effect of, just do what you feel, do what you might normally do if that happened. And it just kind of, that's how that happened.
You just ran up there.
She kind of leaves you to your own devices. Like, she doesn't choreograph a whole lot. She just says, this is the story, this is where I want you to start out, this is where I want you to be in the middle, and this is where I want you to finish. And then she just sort of leaves you on your own and tells you to figure it out. And everybody wanted to be beach mice, and then she was like, well, you know what? Who's comfortable climbing trees? And then a lot less people raised their hands.
All I could remember from the elms and being under the beech tree, it's a beech tree, right? The dancers looked like animals. They looked like reptiles. Their skin tone matched the tone of the bark. And we weren't really sure that they were humans. When we walked in there, we knew that we were going to see something, but we really weren't sure. And it was real, that was very, very clever.
I really felt a feeling that the creative work of Dan and his great gift and the music of Chris, who came in from Boston, gave us this real sense of the pagan and the process of us getting, like, quarrying down in through the surfaces of ourselves, like being in the quarry and getting back to that Appalachian music and finally getting past this surface of things that we live in and take for granted every day into the essence of not only Newport but of ourselves. So many of the neighbors came there and they were so gratified to see their park, which was rescued really from oblivion, which had been buried in trash, which is right there across from Rogers, and a place that very few Newporters know about. I think that the sense of a personality and place might have been in the mind of the creators of the dances. If the architecture can speak through dance, so can something like a quarry, which is kind of primal and before the architectural level for the stone. If stone then can speak through fluid movements of dancers, as our voices likewise reverberate from the stone. These are questions that interest me. And again, I wanted to point out how much there was apropos in the use of this space for voice because of the great acoustics. A friend of mine came by and he said, "Oh, the acoustics of this place are really beautiful." And then as the fog came in and even increased the audibility of our voices, the ladies as well, see, so that we were singing with the dancers who were singing with their accompaniment and making music and dance in its entirety, in its completeness. A real festival then of people open for the dance. So I was open for the dance, and yet it was more my mouth was open.
I know Danny has done this before, taking visual images. He had archival dance photographs of Martha Graham, and I think it was Paul Taylor, and Nureyev, and quite a few with shapes. And he said to these kids, these high school kids, mostly it was high school kids, take the essence of this picture, this shape. You might see someone that has a straight line and there's a curve, and you don't have to completely copy that image from that page, but draw the essence from it, rearrange the pictures in any way you like, and somehow link the movements so that they flow. So it's not pose, pose, pose. And they got to work, you know, so everyone got to work interpreting and came up with really beautiful, beautiful phrases, and the way that it is different, I think, is that Danny did not provide any material for these kids. For me, the first day we worked, I had pictures like everybody else. He would come around and say, show me a little bit of what you've got, and then he might edit, sharpen it up here, make it a little spicier, have a little more dynamic feeling in sections. And then that evening, on Wednesday evening of the first night of the festival, Danny said, what are you doing tomorrow? And he said, Mickey, can we have a studio? So we went into the studio, and he taught me material, which is more traditionally the way that I would work with Danny, is he would teach me movement phrases. And we interspersed the movement phrases that he taught me for my solo with material that I had created. So I worked in the way that I was accustomed to working with Danny. Little bits of mine, we always have something to say in a Danny piece, you know. The dance is in us, and we are the dance. We make the dance, we own it, your own dance. But the high school kids, it was completely theirs. Danny might have one of the kids say, okay, take one section of your dance and a section of your dance and a section of your dance and a section of your dance, and put them together and create a new phrase, and then teach it to someone else. So in that way, it was all completely artist-driven. It was completely driven by the students themselves, which I think made them feel so invested in the project right away, because they had total ownership. And the choices that they made about which section, he gave them so much freedom artistically. Take the part that you like the best. And they always make really valid artistic choices, I think, when people are given that kind of freedom. When I was making, Wednesday, the very first day, when I'm in this field in my sneakers, surrounded by these beautiful images, and I'm making artistic choices, I thought that this is what it is to make art. You know, as a dancer, often we're interpreters, we're not creators. And that was sort of wonderful. I came to realize that all movement is valid.
Right.
And all movement is dancing, if you make these choices that it is.
They really allowed us to have our own, be our own who we are, which was so nice, because a lot of times, you know, you have to be what they want you to be. And they really struck a beautiful balance of having us, who we are, come out in our movements. And that was really special and beautiful. And such a nourishing thing for your artistic soul. Your soul that was maybe hadn't had the opportunity to be that creative. So I did feel that last day, and that was just in a moment of, now I know why dancers just can't get enough of what they do.
Sort of like exams and being in a play during the week where it's to the performance. And it was also, I don't know, it was just kind of like very intense, but lots of fun at the same time.
I think I felt sort of the same things that I might feel on stage, but more try to find a flat piece of ground, hope that the grass doesn't stick too much to your costume, things like that. Avoid the groundhog hole as you exit stage right. You know, you do want to maintain some level of dignity, even though you're essentially a cow path. But just trying to remain as, what is difficult is that you're en plein air, and you're with the elements, and there's wind, and sometimes an airplane flies by. Consciously telling myself to ignore all of those things and remain focused on those two girls singing that beautiful song, or on those beautiful teenagers doing their phrases in front of those extraordinary sculptures by Bob Rizzo. Just to remain focused within, because there's so many more distractions than when you're in that proscenium and you can't see anyone out there. So it was a lot of thinking, a lot more thinking, you know, because normally when you perform, it's in the muscle and you don't have to think. I was thinking hard. But I really like this business of site-specific, because I think it radicalizes what the average person might think of is dance, and that all movement becomes valid and that they might become movers, they might become participants, they could be performers as well, which is a wonderful and a beautiful thing.
Well, I went in there with 10 girls and we played and sang and danced at Ballet Park.
I had the great fun of a friend come by and he brought me a new hat, and he incorporated me into a special museum called the Hermetic Museum. So I have that to say, it never would have happened that I actually found myself installed in a museum as a result of my work there today. This piece was about teaching, I thought, in some ways about teaching dance. How do we convey it to the next generation? I mean, I think that the people and the thought process that went into this event was very much a part of conveying the art of festival making and the art of teaching dance and all of these other learning experiences for Newport as a community. I really was happier there at Ballard Park than I would have been at Rough Point or Elms or anywhere, because it seems to me really in touch with the essence of the place. The very stone out of which so much of Newport has been constructed came from that quarry. And every stone has the word in it, one. So I was just one with the stone of Newport.
I think the most exciting part for me was working with Art and Myrna and everyone else who was doing this dance performance, because I'm not usually a creative person, you know, which it takes your right brain creativity to do that kind of performance. Whereas me, my world is numbers and finance and accounting and black and white. This was more color and artistic and forms, and I found it a wonderful learning experience for me. And I'm always open to new things, because I think it doesn't matter what age you are, you should always keep your brain moving in various different directions. It keeps your body healthy, young. Of course, your brain controls everything, and I don't want it to get static.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see, like, the tree dweller folks. I didn't get to see their thing in the trees, which I kind of regret. Hopefully I'll get to see it on video. But, yeah, it was a nice experience. It was a week long. Just got to, explore movements and all that kind of stuff. Got to work with some folks who are in college. Of course, Amy, professional people. So, good experience.
Did you do it again?
I would definitely do it again. I would do it again. The minute anyone said they were doing it and asking for volunteers, I would definitely do it again, in a heartbeat.
If I like the site that we're dancing at, then I'll probably like it. But say if we were dancing in a place that I didn't like, then I'd hate it. So, I mean, I liked being under the trees and I liked the garden, so I liked where we were, and so I liked what we were doing. But if I didn't like, if we were at somewhere that had a bad memory for me or that I just thought was ugly, then I probably would hate it.
I don't know, something where you just let loose totally. Just, I don't know, do stuff, for lack of a better phrase. Because my group is more structured, so it was more like rigid movement to a large degree. So I just like to kind of, run around and stuff, do a whole bunch of jumps and, just have fun with it.
Dancing with kids my age, not with like all older people, some older people and some younger people. That would be fun to have different heights and ages.
What did you think? Site specific. Would you do it again?
I feel like you can't avoid it, site specific.
So I'm glad to have had one small part in this, to have been one little pebble in the stone of this event, one little part of it, and hopefully then it can include us all again, and that we can reunite next year in festivals which are open for dance. It was delightful.
And welcome to Open for Dancing. It's going to be a heck of a night.
be a prophet if I got the notion you could show 'em all a thing or two about love. You never mind about all their warning. You know the answer and the feeling's right. You get it coming like a Christmas morning. The looser you plays it, the more it gets tight. I threw it all away and hit the highway. I'll meet you further up around the bend. I gave it everything, I did it my way.
Everybody gather here.
Pull me over.
So, fa, sol, la, sol.